Hey guys! So, sorry it's been a while since you've seen my face. Last week we were pretty sick with colds in my house and I had to take my son to the ER twice. So it's been a week, but we're finally on the mend and I should be able to start getting some more videos out. But today I wanted to talk about a topic that's been kind of floating around, and it's funny because I sort of had a hand in starting this topic, which is awesome because it's an awesome topic. But what was it? Week and a half ago now, maybe closer to 2. I had told Erica Rawspirit here on YouTube that I had a couple of dreams about some people who have passed that are close to me, and I had mentioned that the veil must be getting really thin, and so she had started to analyze that a little bit and had come up with this really interesting concept of how the wheel of the year sort of waxes and wanes, much like the moon phases, and so we're now entering the darker part of the year, and how right around Samhain and Beltane is when the veil tends to thin, or it tends to be at its thinnest. And I will link the video that she posted below because it's really some interesting stuff. But then Drew, She Who Walks Between the Worlds, posted a short video response just asking some follow-up questions and kind of clarifying what the veil thinning means to her and why she thinks it thins. So this has been kind of a back and forth topic that's been going on, and I know Erica had posted another follow-up video as well. So I will definitely link those below, but it kind of got me thinking about my thoughts on the matter and my experiences with it as well. So first of all, I'm going to kind of cover why I think the veil thins, and I think that everybody kind of has a slightly different take on it, a slightly different concept of it, and that's totally normal, because I mean, again, I will say, ask 10 different pagans the same question, you'll get 10 different answers. But for me, why it thins, I think, honestly, I think it's just, so I guess I could probably have to go into defining the veil first, of my concept of it, and then going into why. That makes a little bit more sense. So what I believe the veil is I believe that it is a energy shift in between what is our concept of reality versus the plane of existence, I suppose you could say, that spirits or those who have passed on exist in. And I think that we do have a coexistence. I think that they do exist sort of like this. And I think as the veil thins, it becomes a little bit more like this. Like that. Thanks, Prue, for jumping up on me and throwing me off here. She wants us to be in my videos every single time. But, so, really, this is helpful. Very helpful. Just gonna do that. So woman! But, so, I believe that when the veil thins, our plane of existence just becomes more aligned with this, and occurrences, communications, spirit work tends to heighten when this sort of thing happens. And I think this sort of thing happens as natural as our seasons change. And I think it coexists with our seasons changing, and I think that has a lot to do with my pantheistic view of the world. I believe that everything feels this to some degree, whether you realize it or not, it happens. And I think that those who are more sensitive to it feel it on a more dramatic scale. I also think that there are certain things that can cause the veil to thin in a stronger way, depending on what's going on in the year, depending on what's going on astrologically, depending on what the energy shift is happening, because I don't think it's the same every time, and I think there's different circumstances that cause it to become either weaker or stronger. But it happens almost as the changing of the seasons, as I said. It's just a very I think it's a very natural thing, truthfully. But and I since I have begun on this practice, and even before, I think I have felt it, and I think I've felt it for a very long time. But this year it's become stronger, and I think it's just because of what's going on in my life. And I think I'm going to shed light on that a little bit too. The interesting thing is that I'm starting to learn that trauma, I think, can be sort of a construct to breeding a spiritual awakening, or be it a psychic awakening. And I think I'm experiencing this because and I've mentioned these before, there are occurrences that occurred, or there are things that occurred around my mother's death. And it's interesting because Drew had kind of the same experiences in her mother's passing. She said that the whole year up to her mother's passing, that a lot of things occurred to indicate that the veil was thinning, at least in what she was experiencing. And she had said that when you are close to someone who is close to death, you will experience things. So, and that definitely happened with me. It's so much so that it catapulted me into this awakening, and this, I can't ignore some of the things that I'm experiencing, because it's kind of like spirits grabbing me by the face and just kind of like, hey, listen up now. Oh God, I'm so dorky. But so I'm experiencing a lot of the same similar stuff, and it's becoming more and more apparent, to the point where I'm realizing that I can't ignore what's happening to me. And so this year, in my occurrence, I feel the veil thinning quite strongly. And Erica had mentioned in her video that she thought that she felt that why the veil thins is to sort of kind of prepare us for our own death, which I thought was really fascinating, because, you know, we were put on this plane, we are born into this, we don't exactly choose our lives, and we choose how to live them to a degree, but there's always that outside influence of things that just happen just because. But, you know, we spend so much time trying to live before we die, and I think that a lot of us have a hard time coming to terms with our mortality, because we don't know what happens at the end of it. And everybody has their theories, and everybody has their experiences to indicate as such, but we don't know for sure, and I don't think we're meant to know for sure while we are in this existence. So, and I'm okay with not knowing for sure. I'm okay with pretty much everything I experience basically taking it to my truth to a degree, but not the ultimate truth, I guess is the best way to say it. Pretty much everything I experience spiritually, I think, is just kind of something that I'm meant to see or feel or experience or understand, but that doesn't mean that it is the ultimate truth. And that concept, that type of thinking, is a pretty baseline thinking for most of my spiritual experiences, and also why I tend to be very accepting of other belief structures as well, is because I kind of think everybody is meant to experience spirituality in the way that they best see fit. So, and I don't have any problems with it as long as anybody's not being, pushing their beliefs upon someone or harming someone in a sense. I very much kind of live and let live sort of thing, but that's a completely different topic. So, I think, I've kind of covered how and why, but I'm noticing in the case of me, I am experiencing more feelings. I'm experiencing more vivid dreams. I'm experiencing just more interesting things that have been occurring in the sense of it's sort of undeniable. It's one of those things where this stuff happens and I'm like, okay, I really shouldn't ignore that. And I used to all the time. I used to think, nah, that can't be true, you know. I have to think logically about this because I'll appear crazy otherwise. But what is so crazy about having these profound experiences? What is so crazy about realizing that there might be something more happening to me? So that being said, and I'm going to kind of go a little bit off topic here, I feel as though I'm stepping into a new position or new phase in my spirituality where I'm now becoming more of a student and less of a seasoned practitioner because of the things that I'm experiencing and the things that I'm taking on. So that kind of concerns me because truthfully, I want to, part of why I wanted to do this channel is because I want to teach certain things, spread certain knowledge, be helpful, and find camaraderie, as I've mentioned before. But I would love to start doing more how-to videos. I would love to start doing more things where I discuss certain topics and spark discussions throughout the community, or help those who are first joining the pagan path. And I worry that while stepping into whatever this is that's happening to me, that I might have a little bit harder of a time taking a teacher role when I feel like such a student. It's interesting. But I still plan on doing my witchy home series and all that stuff too. It might take me a few months to start to pump that out, especially as we approach the holiday season and, you know, family obligations and all that stuff. Truthfully, I'm not entirely looking forward to that. I don't generally for most years, I don't really particularly like the holiday season. It's very stressful and I just don't care for social situations, but at least in the mass quantity. And I think in my grief, it might be a little more rough this year. So that being said, I'm kind of warning you guys that I might go through a time of stillness where I might not be making as many videos. I sense that probably will come at some point over the next few months, especially during the winter. But we'll see. You never know. I could find more peace in this, so who knows. But I find the topic of the veil very interesting, and I find the topic of the afterlife very interesting, and I've been drawn to it since I was really young, and I'm starting to realize that I was drawn to it for a reason, and it's probably because of the experiences that I had as a kid. And up until very recently, I denied those experiences. I thought that it was just childhood imagination. But what is childhood imagination? They say that kids are very susceptible to this sort of thing because they don't have the possession of the forefront of your brain, where logic just kind of comes in and is like, hey, that can't be happening. You should probably just whisk that away. And I feel like, to a degree, we shouldn't deny these parts of ourselves, especially when they are shouting at us, and that is what is happening to me now. So that's the experiences that I'm kind of having with the veil thinning. As I've said, it's been super strong for me this year, and I think it is because I have been so close to death this year. And when my mother passed, I was the only one with her. So, and it was strange and fortuitous, those circumstances, but and being fresh in my grief, I think that also is, as I said, I think that in the case of me, trauma is sort of breeding this, in a sense, this spiritual awakening. And I've actually looked into this, and apparently this is an occurrence that happens sometimes, and it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to have trauma to have a spiritual awakening. It's just one of the things that can bring it about. And I think that we all have abilities, we all have gifts. but I think that some are more sensitive than others, and some have to take on that student role where they learn to refine it a little bit more. And I think that is where I'm at. These occurrences have kickstarted it even more, and they've made me realize that there's something happening to me on a very grand scale. And it has a lot, it corresponds a lot with the thinning of the veil and mediumship, truthfully. So, and I can probably do another video elaborating a little bit more on some of the experiences and how I've come to this conclusion. But the thinning of the veil it's just a very fascinating topic, and since we are definitely in the prime time of it with Samhain coming up, I'm wondering if any of you guys have any experiences. Are there any things that are, or any occurrences that are happening to you? Is there something, do you just feel a general energy shift when this time of the year approaches, as we approach the darker part of the year? Goodness, I cannot talk today. Please chime in on this topic. I really want to know more about what you guys are experiencing. That being said, I hope we're having a wonderful week. I hope to maybe get some more videos out here since we're finally feeling better. It's a rough week. So, blessed be, guys. Have a beautiful day.